Okay, be honest with me. Have you ever walked out of an interview and immediately replayed the whole thing in your head thinking, why did I say that?
Every single time. There was one interview where they asked me why I wanted the job, and my brain just left the building. I said something like, because I need a job? Real smooth.
That is not the answer that gets you hired.
No, it is not. But here is the thing. Most people walk into an interview hoping they will just think of the right thing to say in the moment. And sometimes that works, but usually it does not.
Which is exactly why today we are not talking about vague tips like be confident or dress nicely. We are giving you the actual sentences, real lines you can use word for word in your next interview.
10 of them. 10 things you can say that shift the entire mood of the room, because the hiring manager suddenly thinks, oh, this person is different.
And the beautiful part is, while we walk through all 10, we are also going to pick up some genuinely useful English along the way, words and expressions that native speakers use constantly, but that never quite make it into a textbook.
So whether you are preparing for an interview in English next week, or you just want to sound sharper and more natural when you talk about your career, stay with us, because this is a big one.
And honestly, the reason this topic works so well for us is that interviews are basically a very specific, very high-pressure type of conversation, which means everything we practice today you can also reuse in far more relaxed situations, networking events, casual chats with colleagues, even a conversation with a stranger at a conference.
That is such a good point. The skill underneath all 10 of these tips is really just this: talking about yourself clearly, confidently, and specifically, instead of vaguely. That skill is useful for the rest of your life, not just for 90 minutes in a stressful room.
Exactly. So even if you already have a job right now and no interview coming up anytime soon, do not switch this episode off. Everything here still applies the next time someone asks you, so what do you do?
All right, let us set the scene. You walk into the room, or these days you join the video call. The hiring manager smiles and says, so tell me about yourself.
And this is the moment where most candidates just launch straight into their life story. Well, I was born in... No, stop. Before you say anything else, there is one small sentence that changes everything.
And it is so simple, people overlook it completely.
You say, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be interviewed for this position today.
That is it, 11 words. But listen to what those 11 words actually do. They show you have good manners. They show respect for the interviewer's time. And honestly, they just make the whole exchange feel warmer right from the start.
There is a word for that kind of small, thoughtful gesture, by the way: courtesy. It basically means polite, respectful behavior towards someone else. Saying thank you first is a simple act of courtesy, and interviewers notice it immediately because most people forget to do it.
It is such a small thing, but it sets the tone. You are not just another name on a list anymore. You are the candidate who started with genuine appreciation.
And here's a trick. Practice saying it out loud before the interview, so it doesn't sound rehearsed or stiff. You want it to sound natural, like something you would actually say to a friend who did you a favor.
Right, because if it comes out sounding like a robot reading a script, it loses the whole effect.
Exactly. Say it like you mean it, because honestly, you should mean it. You're there because someone gave you a chance among probably dozens of applicants.
Okay, tip number 2. And this one is about something most candidates are simply too lazy to do.
Ooh, that is a strong start.
I mean it. Most people apply to 10 jobs a week, and they cannot tell you 3 specific facts about any of the companies they apply to.
Which is a problem because from the hiring manager's side, that candidate looks like a flight risk. They will take the job, and the moment something better appears, they will leave.
So here's what you do instead. Before the interview, you spend 20-30 minutes reading about the company, their website, their recent news, maybe an interview with the founder somewhere online. You are looking for 1 or 2 specific details you can genuinely mention.
And then when they ask why you want to work there, instead of a generic answer, you say something like, I have researched your company and I was really impressed by your recent expansion into new markets. I want to build a long-term career here, not just take any job.
That single sentence tells them 2 things at once. You did your homework and you are thinking long-term, not just short-term.
There is a nice phrase for doing that kind of preparation, actually, to do your homework. It literally comes from school. homework you do before class. But in everyday English, it means preparing properly, researching before doing something important. Did you do your homework before the interview? Means did you prepare? Did you research?
I love that one because it is used everywhere, not just for interviews. Before a big meeting, before buying a car, before a first date even. I did my homework just means you came prepared.
Exactly. And employers can tell within about 30 seconds whether a candidate has actually done that homework or whether they are improvising the whole thing.
There is a small extra step here too, one people forget. It is not enough to just know the facts. You have to weave them into your answer naturally, not recite them like a list. Instead of saying, your company was founded in 2009 and you have 3 offices, you connect it to yourself. I noticed you recently expanded into new markets, and that kind of growth is exactly the environment I want to be part of.
Right. The facts are just the raw material. What actually impresses the interviewer is what you do with them, how you connect the company's story to your own goals.
And that connection is really what turns I did some research into this person genuinely wants to be here, which, remember, is the whole point of tip number 2 in the first place.
Number 3. This one comes up specifically when they ask, what are your greatest strengths?
Which is such a classic question, and honestly, so many people answer it badly. They either brag too much or they say something painfully generic like, I am a hard worker.
True. But here, employers are looking for something specific. They want people who can handle change, because in almost every job now, the role you were hired for and the role you end up doing 6 months later are not exactly the same thing.
Right. Priorities shift, projects change. Sometimes you have to help out in a completely different department for a week.
So the answer that works really well here is, my greatest strengths include being flexible and adaptable. I am willing to complete work outside of my job description to help the company, and I am flexible with my working hours when needed.
It is a strong answer because it directly answers the fear every employer has quietly in the back of their mind. Will this person only do exactly what is written in their contract and nothing more?
And by the way, adaptable is a genuinely useful word to add to your vocabulary here. It means able to adjust easily to new conditions. A plant that survives in different climates is adaptable. A person who can switch smoothly from one type of task to another is adaptable.
It pairs really nicely with flexible, which is almost the same idea, but focuses more on willingness, being open to change, not rigid about how things must be done.
2 words, similar meaning, but using both together in a sentence, like the answer does, makes you sound noticeably more fluent than just picking one.
And a small warning here. Only say this if it is actually true for you, at least somewhat. If you say you are flexible about working hours, and then the very first week you refuse any small change to your schedule, that damages trust far more than never mentioning flexibility at all.
Good point. These tense sentences work best as an honest summary of things you would genuinely do, not as empty phrases you memorized off a podcast.
Says the podcast that is currently teaching you these exact phrases.
Fair, but use them because they are true, not just because they sound good.
Okay, quick pause before tip number 4. I know a lot of new listeners joined us this week.
We really did. And honestly, every time I see that, it makes my whole day.
So if this is your first episode with us, welcome, genuinely. This is EnglishFB, and what we do here is simple an idea, even if it takes real effort to pull off. We take real, natural English, wrap it inside stories and conversations like this one, and let you absorb it the way you absorbed your first language, through context, again and again, not memorized lists.
Nobody became fluent staring at a grammar table.
Nobody. That is exactly what we are trying to recreate here, one episode at a time.
So if you are enjoying this one, hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps more people find these episodes. And drop us a comment telling us where you are listening from. We read every single one, and it honestly means a lot.
It really does. Okay, back to it, because we still have 7 more powerful things to say, and this next one might be my personal favorite.
Tip number 4 is about a document that almost nobody reads properly, the job description itself.
I find this one shocking every time. The company writes out in detail exactly what skills and qualities they are looking for, and then something like 95% of candidates barely glance at it before the interview.
It is sitting right there, basically handing you the answers, and people ignore it.
So here is what you do. Read it carefully.
actually study it. Find the phrases they repeat, the specific skills they mention twice or 3 times, because that tells you what they truly care about.
And then when they ask the classic question, why should we hire you? Instead of a vague answer, you say something like, you should hire me because I have read the job description and I have the skills, knowledge, and qualities to meet the demands of the role. I can come into your team and make an immediate positive impact.
That phrase, make an immediate impact, is worth remembering on its own. An impact is a strong, noticeable effect on something. If you make an impact, you change things for the better right away, not after 6 months of settling in.
Employers absolutely love hearing that because training a new employee costs time and money. If you can show up and start contributing fast, that is a genuinely attractive quality.
And notice, this whole answer only works if you actually did tip number 2, researching the company, and this new step, studying the job description. They build on each other.
They really do. This is not 10 separate tricks. It is one connected strategy.
Tip number 5 arrives with a question that makes almost everyone freeze. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, this question is brutal because people panic and either say something wildly unrealistic, like running my own company, or something painfully vague, like, I don't know, just growing, I guess.
Both answers, honestly, are a little concerning from the interviewer's side. One sounds like you will leave the moment you can. The other sounds like you have no direction at all.
So here's a version that lands really well. In 5 years, I want to still be working for your company, either in this position with more responsibility or having gained a promotion to a higher level. I would like to be seen as an expert in my area, someone who can train new team members as they join.
What I like about that answer is the word expert tucked inside it. To become an expert simply means to become someone with deep knowledge and skill in a particular area, someone other people go to for advice.
And notice the structure too. It shows loyalty, I want to still be here, ambition, more responsibility or promotion, and generosity, training new members. 3 qualities in 3 sentences.
It is honestly one of the more elegant answers on this list because it manages to sound humble and ambitious at the exact same time.
Number 6 is about standing out from the competition. And this is where I want to bring in a little story because it connects perfectly here.
Oh, I know which one you mean.
When they ask, what makes you stand out from other candidates? The strongest answer usually involves proof, not just a claim. You say something like, one thing that makes me stand out is my track record of achievement. I am a high achiever, and I will replicate the same success for your company. For example, in my last job, I helped increase sales by improving customer service and actively asking for feedback.
Notice it is specific, a real example, a real result. Not just, I am hardworking, which honestly means nothing on its own without evidence behind it.
This actually reminds me of an old English proverb, one that fits perfectly here. Actions speak louder than words.
I love that one, and it is so true in interviews specifically. You can tell someone you are dedicated 50 times, but one real story about what you actually did will always convince them faster than any adjective.
There was a candidate a friend of mine once interviewed. She barely said anything about her personality at all. Instead, when asked about teamwork, she just described calmly and specifically how she had reorganized her previous team's entire filing system over one weekend without being asked because she noticed it was slowing everyone down.
And that was the whole answer?
That was the whole answer. No big claims about being a team player, just one clear action. And my friend said it was the single most convincing answer of the entire day because actions speak louder than words.
She did not need to tell them she was proactive. The story already proved it. That is exactly the spirit of tip number 6. Find your version of that story before the interview, so when this question comes, you are not inventing it on the spot.
Tip number 7 happens right at the very end of the interview, and almost nobody does this, which is exactly why it works so well.
This is the plan of action idea, right?
Exactly. Before you even walk in, you prepare a short written plan, what you would focus on in your first 30 days in the role, your next 60 days, and your first 90 days overall.
And then when they say, that is the end of the interview, is there anything else you would like to add? Instead of saying, no, I think that's everything, you say, I would just like to say thank you again for the opportunity. I already have a plan of action for what I would do in this role if you hire me, and I would like to give you a copy.
Can you imagine being the hiring manager in that moment? You have interviewed 6 people that day. Everyone gave polite, generic answers, and then the 7th candidate hands you an actual written plan.
It is genuinely memorable. It shows initiative, which basically means the ability to act independently, to start something yourself without being told to.
Taking the initiative is one of those phrases that comes up constantly in professional English, by the way. She took the initiative to fix the problem before anyone even noticed it, meaning she acted on her own, proactively, without waiting for instructions.
And handing over a written plan at the very end of an interview is about as clear a demonstration of taking the initiative as you could possibly give.
Number 8 is the question that makes almost every candidate visibly uncomfortable. What is your biggest weakness?
Oh, I actually feel a little sympathy for people here because it is a genuinely tricky question. Say a real serious weakness and you might scare them off. Say something fake like, I work too hard, and it sounds insincere, and interviewers hear that exact line constantly.
So here's a version that threads the needle nicely. My biggest weakness is I find it hard to say no to people. When people ask for help, I automatically say yes, which sometimes means I take on too many responsibilities. However, I am aware of this, and I am working on assessing my capacity before agreeing to more work.
What makes that work so well is the structure. It admits something real, but then immediately shows self-awareness and a plan to manage it.
One important detail here. Choose a weakness that is not directly listed as a required skill in the job description. If the role heavily involves saying no to unreasonable client requests, do not pick that particular weakness.
Right, match the honesty, but be strategic about which honest thing you share.
And notice the phrase, assessing my capacity. To assess something means to carefully judge or evaluate it, and your capacity is basically the maximum amount you can realistically handle. I need to assess my capacity before taking on a new project is a genuinely professional, natural sentence you will hear in real workplaces constantly.
Tip number 9 deals with a question that can quietly wreck an entire interview if you answer it badly. Why do you want to leave your current job?
This is where people sometimes cannot resist venting. My manager was terrible, the company was a mess, nobody appreciated me. And honestly, even if every word of it is true, saying it out loud in an interview is a serious mistake.
Because the hiring manager immediately starts wondering, what will this person say about us a year from now in their next interview?
Exactly. So instead, the strategy is to stay positive about your past, no matter what actually happened behind the scenes. Something like, I want to leave because I am ready for a fresh challenge with a new and exciting company like yours, where my skills will be put to good use. My current employer has been great, but I am ready for the next chapter of my career.
There is a lovely little idiom hiding right in that sentence, by the way, the next chapter. Just like a chapter in a book, we use it to talk about a new stage or phase in someone's life. Moving to a new city felt like starting the next chapter of my life.
It is such a graceful way to describe change because it frames leaving a job not as running away from something bad, but as walking towards something new.
And that reframing is really the whole secret behind tip number 9. Even a difficult exit can be described using forward-looking, positive language without ever saying a single negative word about anyone.
And finally, tip number 10, which happens at the very end, when they inevitably ask, do you have any questions for us?
And please, please do not say, no, I think you covered everything. That answer alone can undo a genuinely strong interview.
It really can, because asking good questions shows genuine interest, and it flips the dynamic slightly. Suddenly, you are also evaluating whether this company is right for you, not just hoping to be chosen.
There are 3 smart questions worth having ready. First, can you tell me more about the team I would be a part of in this role? Second, what would success in this position look like after 12 months? And third, what would my top priorities be once I start?
What I love about those 3 is that none of them are about salary or holidays, at least not yet. They are all focused on contribution and performance, which is exactly the impression you want to leave the room with.
There is a phrase worth grabbing here too, to leave a lasting impression. An impression is the effect or feeling you create in someone's mind, and if it is lasting, it stays with them well after the conversation ends. She left a lasting impression on the whole panel, means they remembered her long after she walked out the door.
And honestly, that is the entire goal of these 10 techniques combined. Not one single trick, but 10 small moments stacked together that leave a lasting impression on whoever is sitting across from you.
One more small tip about this last one, actually. Write your 3 questions down on a small notepad and bring it with you. It looks organized, and it also means you won't blank on the exact wording under pressure.
True. And if the interviewer happens to answer one of your questions earlier in the conversation without you asking, do not just repeat it robotically at the end. Cross it off and mention the other 2 instead. It shows you were actually listening the whole time, not just waiting for your turn to speak.
That little detail alone tells an interviewer more about your communication skills than almost anything you could say directly.
Okay, let us run through them quickly because repetition really does help this stick in your memory. 1, thank the interviewer right at the start. 2, mention that you researched the company. 3, say you are flexible and adaptable. 4, connect your skills directly to the job description.
5, describe a 5-year vision that shows loyalty and ambition together. 6, prove you are a high achiever with one real story because actions speak louder than words. 7, bring a written plan of action for your first 90 days.
8, offer an honest weakness paired with genuine self-awareness. 9, always describe your past employer with positive, forward-looking language. And 10, ask 3 smart questions focused on the team, success, and priorities.
10 sentences. If you only remember 2 or 3 of them walking into your next interview, you are already ahead of most of the room.
Before we wrap up, here's something we're thinking about on your own. Which of these 10 do you think would be hardest for you personally to say out loud in a real interview?
For me, honestly, it's the weakness one. Even a strategic, well-prepared weakness still feels a bit uncomfortable to say to a stranger's face.
Same, actually. I think most people would agree with that one. But that discomfort is exactly why practicing it out loud beforehand, maybe even in English with a friend, matters so much. The first time you say a difficult sentence should not be the actual interview.
That is genuinely good advice, and it applies to English learning in general too, honestly. The first time you use a new expression should never be the moment that matters most.
Practice it here in low-stakes conversations, so when the real moment comes, in English or in your career, the words are already comfortable in your mouth.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's episode. 10 things to say in a job interview, plus a handful of expressions I hope stick with you. To do your homework, to take the initiative, actions speak louder than words, the next chapter, and to leave a lasting impression.
If this episode helped you even a little, the kindest thing you can do is share it with a friend who has an interview coming up. It genuinely helps them, and it genuinely helps this channel keep growing.
And if you have not already, hit subscribe so you do not miss next week's episode. We have got another great story lined up.
Until then, take care of yourselves, keep practicing, and we will talk again very soon.
See you next time.